I want to tell you about a moment that stopped me cold in the middle of a grocery aisle. I was standing there holding a bottle of something I had bought every single week for probably 4 years, and I looked at the price. And then I looked at what was in it. And I just stood there for a second because I could not believe that I had been doing this to myself for so long. Nobody told me. No article warned me. My friends were buying the same thing. And the store had it right at eye level, which, if you know anything about how grocery stores are designed, is not a coincidence. That moment changed how I shop. And today I want to walk you through 10 grocery items that are quietly draining your budget without giving you much in return. Some of these you probably already suspect, but a few of them are going to surprise you, especially number 7. I've been sitting on number 7 for a while, and I genuinely could not believe it when I added up the numbers. Before we get into it, if you're new here, hit subscribe. We do this every week. Real shopping strategies, real price breakdowns, no corporate spin, just honest information that helps you protect your money. Let's get into it. Item number 1. Pre-cut and pre-washed produce. This one is the most obvious one on the list, which is exactly why I want to start here, because even people who know better are still buying it. We're talking about bags of pre-washed salad, containers of sliced bell peppers, cubed butternut squash wrapped in plastic, peeled garlic in little glass jars. This stuff is everywhere now, and it looks so convenient that it's easy to tell yourself it's worth the extra few dollars. It is not worth it. I did a side-by-side comparison at my local grocery store last month, and a whole head of romaine lettuce cost me $1.18. The pre-washed, chopped version of roughly the same amount cost $3.49. That is a 300% markup for washing and chopping something that takes about 90 seconds to do yourself. The industry has a term for this. They call it value-added produce. What that really means is, we did something simple so we can charge you more. And it works. Pre-cut produce is one of the fastest growing categories in grocery retail right now. Stores know exactly what they're doing. I looked into how these products are priced, and the markup is essentially all labor and packaging. The actual vegetable is not better. It is often older, because it has to be processed, packaged, shipped, and shelved before you ever see it. I used to buy the pre-washed salad kits because they seemed like a deal. They have the croutons and the little dressing packet, and they feel complete. But I started doing the math, and I realized I was spending $7 or $8 on a salad kit that had the same volume as a head of lettuce I could buy for under $2. The dressing packet has maybe 20 cents of ingredients in it. Now I buy whole heads of lettuce, whole bell peppers, whole garlic bulbs. I spend maybe 3 minutes extra per meal, and I save somewhere between $15 and $25 a week just on produce alone. The takeaway is simple. Buy whole. Wash it yourself. A salad spinner costs $10 and lasts forever. You are paying a very high price for a very small convenience. Do not let the packaging make you feel like whole vegetables are somehow harder or less sophisticated. They are just cheaper, and that is the whole point. Item number 2. Bottled salad dressing. Speaking of salads, let's talk about what you're putting on them. Bottled salad dressing is one of the most quietly overpriced items in any grocery store. A bottle of a mid-range dressing, something like a balsamic vinaigrette or a Caesar, usually runs anywhere from $4 to $7. And when you look at the ingredient label, what you're mostly buying is water, oil, and a long list of stabilizers and preservatives designed to give it a 6-month shelf life. The markup on salad dressing is extraordinary. I've read multiple reports from food industry analysts who track this category, and the ingredient cost of most bottled dressings is somewhere between 15 and 30 cents. Everything else is packaging, marketing, and retail margin. I started making my own dressing about 2 years ago, and it felt like one of those things I should have done much sooner. The basic ratio for a vinaigrette is 3 parts oil to 1 part acid, olive oil and red wine vinegar or lemon juice or apple cider vinegar. Add a pinch of salt, a little mustard, some garlic if you want it. Shake it in a jar. The whole thing takes 45 seconds. The cost per serving drops to almost nothing, and it actually tastes better because there are no gums or stabilizers in it. I want to be fair. There are a few specialty dressings that have genuinely unique flavor profiles that are hard to replicate at home. But the standard grocery store vinaigrettes and ranch dressings, you are paying for a bottle and a brand name, not for anything special inside. If you keep olive oil and vinegar in your pantry, which you probably already do, you already have everything you need. Stop buying the bottle. Item number 3. Name brand spices. This one made me genuinely upset when I finally understood it. I had been buying McCormick spices for years. Same red caps, same little jars, same familiar labels. I thought they were the good ones. I thought the off-brand stuff was somehow inferior or less potent. That is not how spices work. Spices are agricultural commodities. Cumin is cumin. Paprika is paprika. The difference between a $4 jar of McCormick garlic powder and a 99-cent store-brand garlic powder is almost entirely the jar and the advertising budget. The actual spice inside is sourced from the same global supply chains. I had a conversation with someone who works in food distribution, not naming specifics, but this is someone who has been in the industry for a long time, and they confirmed what I had started to suspect. The spice itself is rarely the differentiator. The brand is the differentiator. And you are paying for that brand every single time. There's also something worth noting about freshness. McCormick spices sitting on a store shelf for 6 months are not going to be more potent than a fresh jar of store-brand spices that moved faster because they were cheaper and more people bought them. I switched to store-brand spices across the board about 18 months ago. My food tastes exactly the same. I've never noticed a difference. And I probably save $30 to $50 a year just on this one category. If you want really good spices, the best bang for your buck, look for ethnic grocery stores in your area. Indian grocery stores in particular tend to have very high-quality spices in large quantities, at a fraction of what you'd pay at Walmart or Kroger. A huge bag of turmeric that would cost $12 at a mainstream store might cost $2.50 at an Indian grocery. Stop paying for the red cap. Buy the store brand. Your food will be fine. Item number 4. Individual serving snack packs. We are now getting into what I think of as the convenience tax, and this item is one of the worst examples of it. Individual snack packs, the little bags of goldfish crackers, the single-serve chip bags, the tiny containers of peanut butter crackers, the snack-size everything, are priced at a premium that most people never actually think about. When you buy a big bag of crackers and then pay attention to the per-ounce cost, and then compare it to a multi-pack of individual servings, the individual servings are often 2 to 3 times more expensive per ounce, sometimes more. You are paying for the portion control and the small bag. The product inside is identical. I understand why people buy them. They're easy for lunches. They work for kids. They prevent overeating. Those are real benefits. But the cost difference is significant, and there is a simple workaround. Buy the large bag. Buy a box of small Ziploc bags. Portion it yourself on Sunday. You get the same convenience at a fraction of the price. I've been doing this with chips, crackers, trail mix, and even cookies for a while now, and the time investment is maybe 15 minutes once a week. Food industry data consistently shows that the single-serve and snack-size category has some of the highest retail margins in the entire grocery store. Companies love this format because it feels like a smaller purchase, but the margin per ounce is dramatically higher. You don't have to give up convenient snacks. Just don't let the store pre-portion them for you and then charge you double for it. Item number 5. Fancy water. I want to be careful here because I know this one feels personal to people, so let me just be honest about what the data says. Bottled water, particularly branded sparkling water and premium still water, is one of the most extraordinary markups in retail. The product itself costs almost nothing to produce. What you are buying is plastic, branding, and the logistics of getting it to the store. A case of La Croix or Perrier at a mainstream grocery store can easily run $12 to $15. That same volume of water filtered through a basic home filter and carbonated with a SodaStream cartridge would cost you less than $1. I did this math myself after buying sparkling water habitually for about a year, and the number made me genuinely uncomfortable. I am not saying don't drink sparkling water. I drink sparkling water every day. I bought a SodaStream a while back, and the upfront cost was around $80. I have saved well over $300 since then compared to what I was spending on cases of La Croix. The math is not complicated. On the still water side, if your tap water is drinkable, a good filter pitcher handles most concerns for about 30 cents a gallon after the initial filter investment. Buying individual plastic bottles of still water at the grocery store is one of the least efficient things you can do with your grocery budget. I know there are people who just prefer the convenience of grabbing a bottle. I get it. But if you are buying multiple cases a month, the numbers are adding up faster than you probably realize. This is not about deprivation. It is about knowing what you're actually paying for. Item number 6. Store-bought frozen breakfast. Items. This is the one I've seen people overlook the most, probably because breakfast feels like a small meal and the individual items seem affordable. Frozen waffles, frozen breakfast sandwiches, frozen pancakes, frozen breakfast burritos. These items feel cheap because the price per box seems reasonable. But when you look at the per-serving cost and what you're actually getting inside, the value collapses pretty fast. A box of Eggo waffles with 8 waffles costs around $4. That's 50 cents per waffle. Which sounds fine until you compare it to making a batch of waffles from scratch. A basic waffle recipe uses flour, eggs, butter, milk, and baking powder. The cost per waffle when you make your own is somewhere between 8 and 12 cents. That is not a small difference over time. For frozen breakfast sandwiches, the Jimmy Dean and similar products, the markup is even more dramatic when you factor in what you're getting. Most of these sandwiches have a small amount of egg product, a processed meat patty, and a piece of cheese on a processed bread product. The ingredients are cheap. The convenience packaging and brand name are what costs you. I started batch cooking breakfast on weekends and it changed my weekday mornings. On Sunday, I'll make a big stack of waffles and freeze them myself. Or I'll cook a dozen eggs, wrap them with cheese and a slice of Canadian bacon on a whole wheat muffin, wrap them in foil, and freeze them. They reheat in the microwave in about a minute and a half. And my cost per sandwich is under 50 cents versus the $2.50 to $3 the Jimmy Dean version costs. This takes effort up front. That is the honest truth. But if you are eating frozen breakfast items regularly, the savings over a month are meaningful. Your mornings do not have to get harder. You just have to do the work one day so the rest of the week is easy. Item number 7. Organic everything. Now here is the one I mentioned at the top. And I want to be very clear that I am not saying organic food is bad or a scam. I am saying the way most people are applying the word organic in their grocery shopping is costing them a significant amount of money for a benefit they are often not actually receiving. The organic label on grocery store products has expanded enormously over the last decade. It now appears on things like organic sugar, organic salt, organic spices, organic canned beans, and organic boxed pasta, and people are paying a meaningful premium for it across every single category. Here is the thing about some of those categories. Salt cannot be organic. Salt is a mineral. It comes from the earth or the sea. It does not have pesticide residue. There is no such thing as a conventionally farmed salt. And yet I have seen organic sea salt priced at 2 or 3 times the cost of regular sea salt on the exact same store shelf. Organic sugar is essentially the same. Sugar is a refined product. By the time cane juice becomes white sugar, the processing removes virtually everything that would distinguish organic from conventional in the final product. You are paying extra for a label on a chemically identical substance. The concept of the dirty dozen is actually useful here. It refers to produce items that tend to carry higher pesticide residues and where the organic version may have a more meaningful benefit. Strawberries, spinach, peaches, apples, and a few others make that list. For those categories, if organic is in your budget, the reasoning is more sound. But organic crackers, organic pasta sauce, organic frozen corn, organic chips, these are categories where the premium is largely marketing. And the grocery stores know this because they've watched the organic label become one of the most powerful price increase tools in retail. I used to buy organic across the board because it felt like the responsible choice. Then I started reading more carefully and realized I was spending an extra $60 to $80 a month on categories where the benefit was either negligible or non-existent. Now I apply it selectively, produce from the dirty dozen list when I can afford it. Everything else, conventional. That shift alone made a noticeable difference in my monthly grocery bill without meaningfully changing what I'm actually consuming. Don't let the label do your thinking for you. Read the actual product. Ask yourself what is actually different. Sometimes the answer is not much. Item number 8, deli counter meat. The deli counter always feels like a step up. There's a person standing there. They slice it fresh in front of you. It feels artisanal and intentional, and it costs significantly more than the pre-packaged deli meat a few feet away in the refrigerated section. I want to talk about why that gap exists and whether it's worth it. In most mainstream grocery stores, the deli counter and the pre-packaged meat section are sourcing from very similar if not identical product lines. The same brands, Boar's Head, Dietz and Watson, store brands, often supply both. What you are paying extra for at the counter is the slice-to-order service and the theater of the experience. Deli counter turkey or ham typically runs $8 to $12 a pound at a mainstream grocer. The same brand of the same product prepackaged can run $5 to $7 a pound. That is a meaningful difference if you are buying deli meat regularly for lunches. I went through a period where I was spending close to $20 a week on deli counter meat for sandwiches. When I switched to prepackaged and started watching for sales, I brought that down to about $8 or $9 a week. Same meals, same lunches, just a different purchasing approach. There are cases where the deli counter genuinely offers something better. Specialty cuts, in-house roasted meats, fresh preparations you cannot find prepackaged. If that is what you're getting, the premium can make sense. But for standard turkey, ham, and salami for everyday sandwiches, the counter is mostly a convenience and a ritual, not a quality guarantee. Watch for markdowns on prepackaged deli meat too. Items approaching their sell-by date often get discounted significantly. If you're buying for the week and will use it quickly, those markdowns are real savings. Your sandwiches will be fine. The counter is not making them special. Item number 9, single-serve coffee pods. I have been holding back on this one for a while because I know how attached people are to their Keurig machines. I have one. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but the math on coffee pods is genuinely alarming when you look at it directly. A standard box of K-Cups, let's say a 32-count box of a mid-range brand like Green Mountain or Folgers, runs anywhere from $20 to $28 depending on where you buy it. That works out to roughly 60 to 80 cents per cup. Now compare that to ground coffee. A pound of ground coffee makes roughly 40 to 50 cups of drip coffee. A decent pound of coffee at Walmart or Costco runs between $8 and $15 depending on the brand and quality. That is somewhere between 16 and 37 cents per cup, sometimes less. The cost difference over a year is not trivial. If you drink 2 cups of coffee a day and you're using pods, you could be spending $500 to $600 annually just on the pod cost. Switching to a basic drip coffee maker or a French press could bring that same coffee habit down to $150 to $200 a year. That is a real number. That is money that stays in your pocket. I understand the convenience argument. I use pods on mornings when I need 1 cup fast and don't want to make a full pot. But making pods your primary coffee source rather than an occasional shortcut is one of the easiest ways to quietly burn through your grocery budget. There are also reusable K-Cup filter pods, little mesh inserts that let you put your own ground coffee into a Keurig machine. They cost about $10 to $15 and pay for themselves in a week if you're a heavy pod user. I bought one and it sits next to my machine now. Most mornings I use that instead of a pod. You don't have to give up your machine. Just stop filling it with the expensive pods every single day. Item number 10, breakfast cereal. We are ending with this one because it is one of the oldest, most well-documented grocery ripoffs in American retail, and people are still falling for it in 2026. Name brand breakfast cereal is aggressively overpriced. A box of Frosted Flakes, Cheerios, Honey Bunches of Oats. These products regularly retail for $5 to $6 for a box that might last your household 4 or 5 days if you're eating it every morning. The primary ingredients are grain, sugar, and synthetic vitamins. The cost of those ingredients is extraordinarily low. The cereal industry spends enormous amounts of money on advertising and on shelf placement. The boxes are large and colorful, and they take up a lot of visual real estate in the store. The marketing toward children, the mascots, the cartoon characters, the prize inside the box culture, is decades old, and it works. People develop brand loyalty to cereal in childhood and carry it into adulthood without ever questioning it. Store brand and off-brand cereals are almost always made with the same ingredients and often manufactured in the same facilities. The price difference is sometimes 50% or more. I buy the Walmart Great Value version of essentially every cereal I eat, and I have never, not once, noticed a meaningful taste difference. If you have children and they are attached to a specific brand because of the mascot or the packaging, this is harder. But for adults buying cereal for themselves, the brand preference is entirely a habit built by decades of advertising. You can break it. Beyond switching to store brand, it's also worth comparing cereal to other breakfast options on a cost per serving basis. A container of oatmeal, not the individual flavored packets, the big canister of plain rolled oats, typically costs around $3 to $4 and provides 30 or more servings. That is around 10 to 12 cents per serving. Even a cheap cheap box of name brand cereal at $4 for 12 servings is 33 cents per serving. Oatmeal wins every time on cost, and on nutrition it is not particularly close either. Cereal is not going away. It is not going to be banned. It is just quietly expensive for what it is, and most people have never stopped to notice. Now you have. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. None of these items are evil. None of these companies are necessarily doing anything wrong. What they are doing is very good at is using packaging, placement, branding, and convenience to separate you from your money in ways that are so normalized you stop seeing them. The 10 items we talked about today: pre-cut produce, bottled dressings, name brand spices, snack packs, fancy water, frozen breakfast items, blanket organic labeling, deli counter meat, coffee pods, and name brand cereal. None of them are necessary in the form you're currently buying them. You can eat just as well, sometimes better, for significantly less money. The difference is just awareness, and now you have it. The people who shop without this knowledge are not dumb. They are just busy, and they trust that the store is giving them fair value. And the store is very much not always doing that. This is not about panic. It is not about couponing your way to misery or never enjoying anything. It is about knowing which corners are worth cutting and which are not. And the 10 items on this list? Those corners are worth cutting. Every single one of them. The extra money you keep in your pocket from making these changes is real money. It is $50 a month, or $100 a month, or more depending on your current habits. That is money that can go towards something that actually matters to you. Most people will keep buying the same things they always have because changing habits is uncomfortable and the default is easy. You are not most people. You are here because you want to do better, and now you know exactly where to start. If this gave you something useful, and I hope it did, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps other people find this content who need it just as much as you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. Every week we go deep on exactly this kind of thing. Real money, real decisions, no corporate talking points. And drop a comment below. Tell me which one surprised you the most, or tell me something you've stopped buying that I didn't mention. I read every single comment, and a lot of our future topics come directly from what you share down there. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.